Today is a very exciting day. Today is the day that we're actually going to be finishing our new axolotl exhibit. Guys, we've been working on this for a long time. I can't even tell you how happy and excited I am because this has been a big stress for me because we want it to be right. We want it to be amazing, and I was kind of nervous to do this by myself. Our good friend here, Jacob from Axolotl Planet, actually reached out and said he would be willing to come up here and help us with this. Honestly, you just made my day. I'm so excited. And I tell you what, guys, already just talking about what we were gonna do made me excited. Now that we're actually seeing him putting this in here, I can't even wait. This stuff is gonna come together so fast and so cool. I can't even wait to see the end result.
So what I'm doing right now is I am setting up my hardscape for the axolotl tank. One of the things that I'm trying to prioritize here is the amount of open space that the axolotls have. Axolotls, they spend the majority of their time on the bottom of the habitat, so the amount of floor space that they have is a lot more important than the vertical swimming space. I don't want to go too crazy with the hardscape materials, take up too much room for the axolotl. Everything is going to be set up so that the axolotls have nice hiding spots, they have nice climbing parts, but most importantly, plenty of open space. Whenever I'm setting up an aquarium for any type of aquatic animal, my main goal is to set up the environment that helps recreate their natural habitat. So in the wild, axolotls come from a lake called Lake Xochimilco. It's near Mexico City. It's the only place in the world where axolotls are found. Naturally, as you approach a body of water in the wild, you'll immediately notice that there's plenty of vegetation that's growing. You have botanicals in the water, such as decaying leaves and other organic matter like that, just spread across the bottom of the tank. So we're going to be putting plenty of that in here with oak leaves and Indian almond leaves. I also like putting an assortment of different leaves in there because, again, it helps recreate the natural environment of many different species being near this lake that has leaves constantly falling into the water. With the setup of the hardscape, you don't want to do anything that seems too forced. There is no such thing as doing it the wrong way. The only way that you do it wrong is if you didn't like how it looked. Everyone has their own preference. My preference is creating something that looks a little bit more natural. In nature, you don't really have a whole lot of natural symmetry, and that's what we are recreating here.
How are you feeling about where you're at right now?
I'm really happy with where we're at so far. I just knocked out all the boring stuff yesterday, setting up the chiller, which you have to have for axolotls, and an awesome Fluval FX6 canister filter. These axolotls are going to have the most beefy filtration that you can for an axolotl aquarium, and it's going to be the perfect temperature all the time. Now what we're doing is we're working on the hardscape, so we're just laying out the orientation of all the rocks, all the driftwood, and making sure that everything looks really awesome for the axolotls.
I'm loving this so much. Like this already looks awesome, and I know it's just the start. Just putting basically the skeleton on, right? And
exactly.
Then we're gonna add more decorations with the rocks and the plants. Well, I don't want to keep you from what you're doing. I'll keep popping around here. You keep doing what you're doing, and I can't wait to see the final result.
Sounds good. So I have the driftwood where I want it to be. For this, I optimized the amount of floor space the axolotls have. If you look closely, there's very few points where the driftwood actually touches the bottom of the habitat. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points where the driftwood touches the bottom of the tank. With axolotls, they don't really use that vertical swimming space very much. They're not fish. They're little salamanders that explore their habitat by walking around the bottom of their environment. With that being said, you want to make sure that you're not overcrowding the bottom of the tank with a bunch of obstructions that's going to prevent the axolotls from moving around freely. With this habitat, they have a lot of opportunities to not only have open room to walk around, but axolotls, they also do like to climb. So there's a lot of really awesome vertical space for the axolotls to climb on, to hide in. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies for them to feel more secure as well if they ever want to get away from everything. Now we're moving on to the rock. I always like starting out with the largest rocks first. That'll kind of give me an idea as to how I want to build out the main structure of the aquascape. After I have all the large rocks where I think they belong, then I'll add smaller accent rocks. Not too small to the point where the axolotls might accidentally swallow them, but small enough to add some more detail and make the entire thing seem more natural. just finished the hardscape for the 125-gallon axolotl display. As you can see here, we have a bunch of awesome open space for the axolotls to roam around freely. They have plenty of space to climb on top of the rock, climb on top of the driftwood. One thing that a lot of people don't know about axolotls is that they actually really enjoy spending time climbing around in their environment and exploring everything. There's also plenty of little hiding spots here for axolotls to do their own thing as well, but there's plenty of space for the axolotls to roam around freely without ever having to worry about getting stuck. I'm really excited about it, and the rocks that we use are really awesome as well. A lot of people will talk about how they're unsure of what kind of substrate to use for their axolotls. If you have a really fine sand, that's fantastic to use for axolotls. The biggest concern with that is people are worried that the axolotls might ingest the sand or they might ingest gravel. The thing to keep in mind is that axolotls, although they're really cute, they're not the brightest animals. So if you have gravel in the tank, especially if you're feeding your axolotl worms and you're letting them fall to the bottom of the tank, if your axolotl is eating off the bottom of the tank in general, you have to assume that as they're eating and sucking up this food, they're also ingesting some substrate as well. So that's why we chose this really fine-grained sand. This is Carib Sea Supernatural Sand. I love it because it just looks supernatural. It looks really aesthetic, and it goes great with creating natural environments. With the rocks that we chose, these are river rocks. So these are nice, round, smooth rocks. You don't have to worry about the axolotls scratching themselves on the rocks or anything like that. And obviously they're much larger than the mouths of the axolotl, so you never have to worry about them accidentally ingesting them.
Wow, this is starting to look really good. I'm loving the look of this. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really excited about everything. Coming into this, I came up with a few different hardscape designs. I just laid everything out right here on the ground in front of the habitat. When you set it up the first time, setting it up again is nothing like setting it up how you originally did it. So I kind of had to modify some things and deviate from the original plan a little bit, but I really love how everything came out. In my opinion, I'm more fond of this setup versus the original one that I had.
I like it too. I do love the stuff coming out the top. I think that adds another dimension to the exhibit. So 2 thumbs up so far. Now next is plants.
Yeah, plants are next.
All right, let's do it.
Now we're gonna move on to planting the aquarium. We have an assortment of different freshwater plants that we're gonna be placing around here in areas that really bring everything together. So we're gonna play around with it a little bit, kind of get an idea as to how we want everything to look, and let's get started. The great thing about the plants that we're using today is that they're not incredibly difficult plants to keep. You can actually take the plants that we have, like Java Fern and Anubias, and you can use this glue and you can glue them onto the crevices of driftwood and the rocks to really have them kind of look like they're growing out of these features themselves.
That's really cool. So this is safe on the plants then, this glue.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically just super glue. The best thing about it is that you can use this for fish tanks. You don't have to worry about your plants floating around all over the place.
That's awesome. I had no idea, but good to know if you're ever trying to set something up yourself. Definitely use that.
Yeah, this is the secret that the pros don't want you to know about. This is one of my favorite plants, actually. This is called Anubias fcelli. I love this because this grows really well on driftwood. This is a common one that I use to aquascape axolotl tanks. It's super hardy and it can tolerate the colder water that axolotls prefer. We're gonna move this around a little bit, kind of see where the best spots might be. I kind of like it. Kind of like it right there. It's a nice little spot. So what we're gonna do there is we're gonna just wedge that in there, and then we're gonna apply just a tiny bit of this glue. This glue is gonna help secure it to the driftwood.
This is just so cool. You guys need to come and look from this view right here. Just adding that little bit of green right in that area to give it that pop. Like, that's the thing that brings stuff to life, and I love that he has the eye here to know, like, you know what? A little green here, a little green there. This is gonna look so cool. I know there's a strategic reason why you asked for these plants in particular. Is it just because they'll do good in this environment? Do they only get a certain size? Or what's your thoughts of why to choose these for axolotls?
So the reason why these plants are the best for axolotls is for a few reasons. One, these are the most beginner-friendly plants, so you don't need to be an aquascaping expert in order for them to grow and look beautiful in your aquarium.
Perfect.
Secondly, these are not fragile plants. They're very hardy. Like I said, you can take these and you can shove them in the nooks and crannies of your driftwood and your rocks. Use a little bit of this glue so that it adheres to that and so it stays stable. They're not the kind of plants that require this incredibly complicated mix of different soils and substrates in order for them to get all the nutrients they need to survive. So that's why I really love using them for this setup. They can also tolerate the colder water that axolotls prefer.
Okay. Now with the axolotls, are they going to take a beating or anything like that? Can they be kind of hard on certain kind of plants?
From what I've seen, axolotls typically don't mess with the plants too much. I have seen some funny things here and there where an axolotl would bump into a plant and think it's food and like try to eat it, but quickly it'll realize that it's not food and just spit it back out.
Okay. Well, good to know.
Right now I'm just spreading out the plants a little bit, just adding like little pops of green here and there. The coolest thing about these plants is that as they begin to mature and really grow out, the spaces that they're filling up are going to look absolutely amazing.
I'm very excited about these water hyacinths. So it's something that Jacob had asked for. I had a hard time finding them, but I mentioned it to our good friend Jeff, and of course he's like, oh, I got those. So he literally went to his mother-in-law's pond and harvested a bunch. He goes, oh yeah, they're overgrown. I have too many anyways. So we got a whole bucket full. And these are gonna make a great addition once the water's actually in there. These guys kind of live on top and float, and it's gonna add a whole nother dimension to this amazing setup. Okay, so I guess it's the moment of the truth. Time for water, right?
Time for water. So long as I did everything right and made sure I used a ridiculous amount of glue, everything should stay secure. The biggest fear that every aquascaper has when they're using driftwood is the fact that the driftwood might float. If the driftwood is not already waterlogged and submerged completely, then there's always the risk of your driftwood floating up and ruining the entire aquascape the moment you fill it with water.
All right, well, let's hope we did our due diligence. I feel like we did. Let's go get some water.
All right.
I want to see your trick.
Okay.
How do we fill it without disturbing?
Yeah, so there's a right way and a wrong way to fill up an aquarium once you've aquascaped it.
Yep.
The worst thing that you could ever do is aquascape your aquarium and spend hours and hours meticulously placing your rocks and your wood and your plants in a way that you think is perfect just to fill up your aquarium. Sand gets all over the place, ruins your entire aquascape. All you do is take a Tupperware just like this, and you find a spot in the aquarium for that Tupperware to go. This is a good spot right here. And the cool thing about this Tupperware is that you have those little holes on the sides. Maybe you were using this for maybe transporting a reptile or something in the past, but with those holes on the sides, it's gonna help dissipate the water even more, creating less agitation and helping the aquarium stay nice and clear after it's filled.
All right, that's an awesome tip.
And now you can begin filling.
All right, we're plugged in.
All right. This is still the most nerve-wracking part. I've taken extra precautionary steps to make sure that the driftwood doesn't float up on us, but I still kind of worry about it a little bit. Slow and steady for this part. Once this is all filled up, we'll be able to plug in the chiller, we'll be able to plug in the canister filter, and then I have something cool to show you about how I set up the chiller and the canister filter in a way that prevents a whole lot of water flow that would stress out the axolotls. This tank will be ready for axolotls, honestly, by the end of the day. The way that this tank is set up, there's some steps that you guys are going to want to take to make sure that the axolotls stay happy and stress-free while the tank is cycling and everything like that. But with how big this aquarium is and the amount of axolotls that we're putting in here and the filtration that we have, it's going to be really hard for the axolotls to make the water dirty in any way. So I'm really confident in it. This is a 125-gallon aquarium. It's more than enough room for the amount of axolotls that we're putting in here. And with all that water volume, it's going to further help dilute the amount of waste that the axolotls are producing. So there's a lot of chemistry involved, and if you know the chemistry right, then you can really have any animal in a brand new aquarium. And just as long as you know what you're doing, that animal is going to be perfectly healthy. We're really excited about all the axolotls that we're going to have in here, and they're all going to be different colors. They're all going to be full grown. And one of the most exciting parts about having all these adult axolotls is the fact that as they're adults, they begin to understand that people are the ones that feed them. So as guests and zookeepers come over here to feed the axolotls, they're going to be right up at the front of the glass, following you around, begging for food.
That's awesome, because honestly, a lot of animals do that. We've got fish tanks that do that as soon as they see a person. We've got, some reptiles, and actually the frogs. So the new Dart frogs that we just moved in, 100%. They're bigger and they just know as soon as somebody came up to the thing, because they used to be in the office. So really the only interaction they got was when people came to feed them. So now that's what they're kind of, same thing, like they see people and they're like, hey, are you gonna give me some food?
Yeah, exactly. When people come to our store, they'll always see the axolotls following them around. They're like, oh my gosh, I think that one likes me. And I don't have the heart to tell them that they just want food.
Don't bust their bubble. Yes,
Yeah.
they like you.
As you can see, the water is just trickling down into the tank. It's not disturbing the sand. It's not disturbing the rocks, or the wood, or the plants. Yeah. Like I said, I had to learn it the hard way. You don't have to learn it the hard way. You can just get a little container or something to dissipate the water flow. Put your hosing in there, start filling it up slowly. Watch your aquascape come to life.
Tank is full. It took a while. 125 gallons is kind of a lot, but we did it. Got it to the top. This looks amazing. It's crazy what a difference. Like, it looked cool already, but once you have the water in there and now the plants can come to life and seeing how it looks, this is so amazing. You are killing it over here. Next step, I think, is turning on the filter.
Yeah, next step, we are turning on the chiller, we're turning on the filter, make sure that everything is running smoothly, and as soon as we're able to confirm that there's no issues, go ahead, add the final touches to the aquarium by putting the water hyacinth in, and then we will be good to go for axolotls.
We are so close. I am in love with this. This is so cool. Let's plug her in.
All right, yeah, moment of truth. I'm plugging the chiller in right here.
Hope you guys enjoyed today's video.
Now we are going to plug in the submersible pump that powers the chiller, and that's going. You can see the bubbles coming out right there at the top. And if you notice where I have the return plumbing, it's blowing straight into the glass. So the reason why you want it to be like this is because it's not creating a current that's blowing the axolotls around. This helps the axolotls stay a lot more comfortable and helps them feel more at home. So next, we know that the chiller is good. We are going to plug in our Fluval FX6 canister filter. We've already got this guy set up and ready to go. I'm just gonna plug this guy right up here. All right. Canister's plugged in, and you can see water's coming out right there. Again, you'll notice with the return plumbing that I have the return tubes going straight into the glass. You can see it purging out all the air right now. But the benefit of making sure that all of the water flow coming out of your filtration going into the glass is you don't have to worry about your axolotls getting blown around. In the wild, they're kind of hanging out in areas that are more stagnant. Axolotls, they're not built to handle water currents, so you want to make sure that their environment is optimized to be as low flow as possible. That allows them to be able to navigate their environment freely without having to struggle to stay in one spot.
I'm loving it. Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm super happy with all of this. We passed all of the major problems that could have gone wrong.
No floaters, nothing popping out.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, everything has actually gone good, which I will say for us, this is maybe a first time, but we're not done yet, so actually I'm not going to say that yet.
Yeah, well, all the hard stuff is out of the way. Now we're good to go. We're going to go ahead and add the water hyacinth into the aquarium.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this is going to look, so let's move on to that stuff.
Huge bucket full of water hyacinth. This is one of my favorite plants. Unfortunately, in the state of Texas, where I'm from, we're not allowed to have this stuff, but you guys are lucky, you can have it here. The benefit of having the water hyacinth in your aquarium is that not only does it look really cool, but water hyacinth is one of the most effective plants at removing nitrates from your water. It's so effective that in some stages of water filtration, they might actually use water hyacinth to extract additional nutrients from the water. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna add that in here, and these roots, you'll see here. Yeah. So these real long roots, the axolotls, they love to climb up into this stuff. So that's gonna give your guests an awesome thing to witness because your axolotls will rarely ever be hid. In the wild, they are always hanging out on these roots. This helps them stay close to the surface of the water. A lot of the time you might notice, even as you're passing by the aquarium, the axolotls, they'll hang out right here on the roots with their noses right below the surface of the water. In the wild, what they'll do is they'll hang out immediately below the surface, and as a little bug or something might hit the top of the water, they'll sense that vibration and then just catch it really fast.
Oh, how cool is that? That's really cool.
So let's go ahead and try to get these in here. One thing I love about the mature water hyacinth is that you know it's healthy when it begins to reproduce. And they reproduce by growing out these little stalks that will grow another baby water hyacinth. So let's go ahead, first water hyacinth going in. We'll put it right here on the side.
That's some crazy roots going on.
Yeah, the roots look absolutely wild. But again, it gives the axolotls a lot of space to climb on, and it helps fill some of the empty areas in the aquarium, making it look more put together.
Yeah?
Yeah, see, this is something I was really going for. There's also not a whole lot of surface agitation either, so it's going to help these plants stay in one spot and not stress out the plants as much at the same time.
It's crazy. It's almost like hair.
Yeah.
It looks like it has a little wig.
But it's really cool that you mentioned that, though, because that's exactly one of the reasons why water hyacinth is so effective at pulling nutrients from the water. There's a lot of surface area for its roots to extract nutrients. When you have more surface area like that, it just makes it that much more effective at, pulling the excess nitrates from the water,
Yeah,
helping to maintain a more beautiful ecosystem, but at the same time reducing maintenance on your end. Because
Awesome.
the thing about maintaining any aquatic environment is that you have to do water changes in order to keep your nitrates down. The benefit of having these plants is that they'll help naturally keep your nitrates down for you.
Very nice.
All right, let's do the rest of these. We just reduced the flow a little bit more on this side to help give the plants more of a less active area, helping them grow more effectively.
Another hand?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Look at this. This has 3 pieces growing out of it. Beautiful.
Just adds a whole nother dimension. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll add a couple here in the
I
back.
understand why you wanted these now. Like, it's definitely a game changer.
Oh yeah. You can't not have floating plants in an aquarium where you're trying to recreate natural environment.
Yeah.
Like, it is just, to me, I feel like it's a very necessary thing to have. And plus, it just really comes full circle because it helps create a much healthier environment, a much more enjoyable environment for your axolotls.
I'm loving it. This is way exceeding my expectations, and nothing makes me happier. I can't wait to actually get these animals and get them in there. I know it's not going to be long, but dang, this is so cool. This is just, I don't even know. It's just amazing.
This is like a big clump. It's all tangled together.
It's funny because these roots are almost mimicking what is the word for the things that come out of the axolotls' necks?
Those are their gills.
The gills. So it's actually, to me, it's mimicking the fluffy look of their gills, right?
Yeah, ironically, it looks just like that.
I know, isn't that crazy?
That's hilarious. Let's go ahead and fill out this side. The cool thing about these plants is that because they reproduce so quickly, you can take clippings of this and you can put it in any other environments that you want. Like I said, it's going to help the habitat look a lot more natural and also give you that added benefit of additional filtration.
Yeah, this is so cool. I love this so much.
Yeah, I'm very excited. You guys got to come back in the next 6 months. 6 to 8 months from now, all these plants will be much more mature, established, and grown in, and the axolotls will be in here. They'll be thriving. You guys will be able to see all different color morphs of axolotls, and it's only at the Legacy Aquarium. So to add an additional layer to help sell the natural look of the aquariums, we have some leaf litter right here. These are oak leaves.
That one is oak leaves. Yep, we got a couple different types.
Yeah, so we have some oak leaves in here, and we're just adding a variety of different botanicals into the aquarium because, as I mentioned earlier, in the wild, you have several different species of trees that are surrounding these lakes. With all the different species, it only makes sense to add different species of leaf litter into the aquarium. These are going to provide more of a natural look to the tank, and these have the benefit of adding tannins into your water. Tannins, they have natural antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and antibacterial effects. So we're going to go ahead, put these in the aquarium. We're just going to scatter them along the surface of the water. They're going to float for the next few days, but within time, these will just begin to get saturated with water, sink down to the bottom of the tank, and you'll be able to spread them out, making it look even more realistic. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just take some handfuls and generously spread them along the surface of the water. Put some right here. These are going to help tremendously in really putting the final touches on this tank, like a little cherry on top, to help make sure everything looks like these axolotls are actually living in Lake Xochimilco. Right here, we have some Indian almond leaves. Anybody who keeps axolotls have probably heard of these leaves before. They're kind of like the standard in terms of leaf litter to add to an axolotls aquarium. A lot of people talk about Indian almond leaves when they are on the topic of coming up with treatments to cure axolotl infections such as fungal infections. The reason why they're so beneficial in that area is because, again, these have the antioxidant, antifungal, antibacterial properties that just naturally help beef up the axolotl's immune system.
Wow, that's amazing. You get all that from a leaf. I know,
crazy.
that is...
That's literally what I was thinking. I was like,
Yeah.
all that from one leaf? That's crazy.
Well, here's where it comes full circle. One of the things that I have to communicate to people is like, they'll come in, they'll ask for Indian almond leaves, and I have to tell them like, hey, you know this is gonna turn your water brown, right? It doesn't mean that your water is dirty, but those are the tannins being released into your aquarium. The same thing happens when you brew yourself a cup of tea. When you put that tea bag in your hot water that's filled with those shredded little leaves, it's the exact same thing that's occurring. The tannins are being released from that herbal tea that you're drinking, getting into your water, and that's why tea is so beneficial for us. I did something weird. This is a confession that you're the first people I'm telling this to.
Okay.
I was just curious, so I took some Indian almond leaves that were already prepared. I just ground them up and I put them in some hot water, and I actually drank Indian almond leaf
What
tea.
did it taste like?
Did you
It
like
tastes really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just like a really light, fragrant herbal tea. Think of like black tea. It kind of tastes like that. Yeah, and so when I had that tea for the first time, that was actually 80 years ago. Look at me now.
Wow. That's the key, huh?
It's the real deal.
Wow,
Yeah.
so this is actually the real fountain of youth. Give me that.
You
I'll
already.
definitely have to try that. I definitely have like the tea sifters and stuff like
Yeah.
that you can actually do that. So there you go.
You
I'm about to go
already
make
look
some
great.
tea.
So go ahead, we'll just scatter these around the surface of the water as well. There's no rhyme or reason. You just do it in a way that looks pretty random. Nature's filled of very random things, so we're just trying to mimic nature here. Like leaves are just randomly falling into the body of water. That's what we're going for. I'm gonna go ahead and push these down a little bit just to make sure they all get filled with water, not leaving anybody behind.
This looks so good. It's crazy. I like left for a little bit, and then it didn't look like this and came back. It actually makes me feel like if I could. Okay, just hear me out for a second. If I could stand underwater, right? But like my eye, just like think about what I'm saying. But like my eyes were like at the surface.
Yeah.
But so like this part of my eye was looking like above the surface, and then I was. You get what I'm saying? Or?
Yes. Yeah, like you're kind of getting the best of both worlds.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're kind of getting like that. It's like if you took a cross section
Yes.
of the lake. And
Yeah.
you were
If I
able
could
to
cut the lake
Yeah.
in half like a cake and then look into it,
like a cake.
Okay.
that would be it.
All right.
This, anyways, I'm saying all this to say this looks amazing.
Looks great.
Yeah, that's the goal. Just recreating a natural environment that looks like the same place you'd find axolotls.
All right, so now I am just super excited because all we need now are the axolotls. And guess what? They'll be here in a couple days. All right, guys, I want to give a huge shout out to Jacob here from Axolotl Planet. You crushed this. This is just amazing. I'm so excited. Just in time for grand opening too. I cannot thank you enough. This is just amazing. Again, guys, big shout out. Make sure you go check him out, support him, follow him. He does a lot of cool things with axolotls and more. Definitely an amazing guy that you gotta follow.
Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, there's a playlist that you can watch all kinds of videos. You can also hit that subscription button. It would mean a lot to me. Also, hit that like button while you're down there. Have a wonderful day, Reptile Army. Remember, be kind to someone, and I promise I'll see you in the next one.